Come on, go live already. Here we are. We're
Yeah,
live.
there you go.
We were already really talking, and I wanted to hear the rest of what you were saying, but let me do my intro, and then we'll talk, and then we'll do the blaster thing.
Cool.
There's the SI steps for you.
All right, let's go.
Welcome, everybody. We're doing another Crazy Enough. I'm continuing this series. I'm having fun, so I'm still going. Funny story about that I'll share later. This is Confronting Your Demons, where I invite a guest on who has whose objective personality 512 is opposite to mine in some way. First, I'm starting off with people who have consume play saviors, because those are my animal demons, and means they'll have sleep blast as their demons, so we'll be flipped. I'd like to have an opportunity for us to share how our animal stacks are working and how we're seeing them live out in real life, along with our functions. And I also think it'll be a really interesting experiment and backdrop to compare how we even go about having these conversations. So welcome, Taylor. I was thanking you before for coming on, and you were talking about how you saw the ones with Dante and
Yeah.
Whenever I say Dante, I can never say Adrian's name.
Yeah.
I always want to say Andrew or something. Okay.
So it is. Yeah. I'm really thankful to be here, to be honest. It's a really interesting experience. I've never actually been interviewed in the objective personality space before. So
really,
yeah, so it's really cool to sort of get the experience of going back and forth with people, because you'll find that's what I do all the time. If Dante and Adrian's watching, they will definitely know when I have an issue. It's usually so you want a voice chat? Just because it's always good to kind of get the back and forth of you sort of get the multiple perspectives thing. So, getting the chance to sort of do that, just talking generally about typology, something that I'm ridiculously obsessed with, is really, really good. Yeah, I think if my family saw how deep down the hole I was into, they would be a bit freaked out, to be honest.
Oh, I bet that's that double masculine consume, you think?
Yeah, that definitely probably is a part of it. When I get into a new idea, I get like dragged into it. It happened with, we'll go into that when we get into it, but it happened with what I had to do for what I had to do for school, what I had to do for it happened for a ton of stuff, to be honest. That's usually what happens for me. The pattern for me, I don't want to make this that it's all about me show, because I know it's partly for your demons as well. But for me, I basically, whenever something new kind of gets my eye, I find that I instantly get almost just engrossed into it to a creepy degree of for weeks and weeks and weeks with friends. They're out there like just doing their thing, and they have their consistent hobbies, right? I have a friend who watches the same two TV shows that coincidentally I now watch, the two same TV shows, but like he does that. He has the consistency of, I like these things and I can talk about these things. Like he's so into those things, he can genuinely quote the show and put it into his vocabulary 90% of the time. He can recite one of the episodes with it being muted for the entire time. Whereas, for me, it's more of a all over the place. I'm into this for at most a year.
Yeah. Right. So he like only watches two shows? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. He's sort of, yeah, he is sort of like that with not just TV shows, but just sort of music and just anything that has anything to do with him taking something else in. He's not very quick to jump around.
To do a different thing. He'll keep watching that. He'll keep doing
doesn't want
a
channel change. He wants to kind of perfect his almost understanding of the current thing he's doing.
Oh, that's so crazy. I do have a little bit of that. Like when I get into something, I'll get into it and then I'll be done with it. Like, but anyway, let's do the blaster thing.
Okay.
Oh, I removed it from the stream. Okay, here we go. All right. So here's our types next to each other, and I wrote down a couple little notes. So deciders, and we actually
Mhm.
share the decider access. I know Dave and Shannon always talk about how like we'll probably talk the same language. I don't know that I've actually seen that play out in real life. I understand TEFI people.
Yeah.
How have you
Hmm?
have you noticed any of that about understanding,
Uh,
like talking the same language?
okay. So I don't actually get it. I find that I've not typed any of my family members, but
Mm,
whenever I go to their spot, whenever I'm with particularly my cousin, who I think is high TI,
okay.
um, sure, it looks like we can speak the same language, but as soon as our sort of ways of thinking are opposites, we're not talking to each other at all. Right? We're
Oh.
basically it goes from it could go from something as simple as it was something as simple as when do you think this will happen? Or when oh well okay, that's gonna happen, da, 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 da. But because I'm stupid and bring up a bunch of random points of views and stuff like that, I'm like, oh yeah, and this and this and this and like the culture and da, 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 da. And as soon as I'm like the culture issue of this and this culture issue and da 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 da, she instantly goes, no, this and this and da 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 da. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna tap out. Whereas like because that's their identity.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
whereas like whereas like for like the my friend is a TEFI in my opinion. He's a lot more kind of chill with the like sort of the what's the actual truth of this and how do you get into it. He's more of
Got it.
a he's just more sort of like whatever happens happens, but don't say what I like is bad. Which
Right, right.
usually that's quite easy to jump around. I find that
Did you
I
say that backwards? Like the guy that you were like is more chill. Is he the FI or the TI?
he's the FI.
He is the FI. Okay. All right. It's interesting. I'm gonna have to rewatch that. I don't know that I totally observed that.
Oh, I
Um
you'll find that I'm a nightmare to fully observe. I say a bunch of words and a lot of them don't make sense.
Okay, cool. This will be great for me then. Um so you're the first IP
Mhm.
and the first beta quadra on my
Sure.
show. Not that I've had
Awesome.
that many people, but you're the first of both, baby. So that'll be fun. And I
Cool.
also was very excited. I know you mentioned before we went live that we're the opposite, like you know how EJs and IPs are
Yep.
opposite, and and you've got that like big masculine TI at the top, which I am like struggling with.
That's
So
quite difficult to provoke. I don't think that like if you're scared of the whole like I'm gonna go like masculine TI on you, it's quite difficult to make me do that.
oh,
So you should be fine. But yeah, I'm in the same boat as you with the decider axis because that's what I'm really interested in because I think that you can get the obviously the observers are important whereas
mhm,
we have intuition and sensing in the same spot and that's
mhm.
going to be quite interesting. I think that we can sort of relate to an extent there, but
Yeah, you're right.
when it comes to like, the decider axis, I'm just going to really enjoy hearing the opposite perspective of someone who has the FE right at the top, which is their main focus even though they don't think it's their main focus, you know.
100%. All right, then let's get through this real
Okay.
quickly so we can get into our conversation. I'm double activated blast, you're double activated play, which makes a lot of sense in what you were saying about like you're, always wanting to ping off of it with
Mm.
other people. So interestingly enough, we're both missing the DI decider, like the self,
Yeah.
um, which actually there was some things that you were saying that was familiar to me, and I wonder if that's what it was. Where so even though you're DI at the top, you're missing it. So, oh, are you a glass
Yeah.
lizard? Are you
Yeah,
technically?
I'm technically a glass lizard, just because I come across most like the people I think if you don't know me well enough, I'm gonna come across as an EJ,
That's interesting.
just with the just with how much I bring up another person. For me, uh I can't for the most part, I'm generally quite scared of going into my, like, bank of known information, taking it out, and then just putting it on a platter for someone else, just
Right.
because I instantly think they're going to rip that thing apart. because deep down I know that I haven't focused too much on it.
Oh. Oh, okay. Okay. Right. Ooh, that's good. Um, all right. We both have savior masculine sensory. So you had
Mhm.
mentioned too that like our decider axis is the same. It's just one's introverted, one's extroverted,
Yep.
right? But we both have it masculine, so that's interesting. And then you have play and blast in the middle, right?
Yeah.
And then so you may be a little bit more extroverted, and that's what it sounds like you're saying as well. Um I don't know why when I was looking at the modalities on here, right? Like your blast is double feminine, and
Yep.
then so it felt like maybe your extroversion comes off a little maybe softer. Like it's not as I've seen some play blast people who are very like um
Yeah.
right? And right. And it's also feminine FE, which I'll
Mhm.
be very interested to see how that plays out as a demon. And then of course my animals are the opposite, right? Like sleep and play and in the middle. And mine's like MF and FM. So like my middle two animals have no like fancy like thing on the modalities.
Mm.
Um and my double masculine is first and my double feminine is last. Um Also where we're both double activated, like the animal that we're double activated in is SF for both of us.
Yep.
Which is interesting because you were talking about like people and culture and everything like that. It's just on yours, it's play rather
Mhm.
than in mine, it's blast. And I had mentioned before that both of us have double masculine first animals, although while my double feminine animal goes to the bottom, yours is still a demon, but it's not the last demon. So
Yep.
I'm interested to see if like how you feel your blast happens. And this is really interesting too. Not only that MTI, right, but
Mm.
the double masculine consume over the double feminine consume. Like what are you doing? Plus yours has got sensory in it, mine's got intuition in it,
Intuition.
so it's very floaty. Yeah, so that's my little blaster. Is there anything you wanted to mention or talk about while I have this up?
Uh, I'm now trying to just scan down it to see if I can. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I've looked at this like 5 times,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's anything I want to talk about in there specifically. No.
Okay, cool. Oh, the other I've been meaning to add a field because I
Mhm.
haven't I don't know why I didn't, but your info dom and energy dom.
Oh, you don't have the info energy coin.
Yeah, I don't know why I missed that. But yeah, so that's another thing that might come up. It's interesting. I've always kind of felt I thought I was going to turn out to be info dom, but I understand why I'm not.
Uh, yeah, that's the thing with OP. You always are going to see yourself as your demon because that's that's weirdly, ironically, the most conscious but least conscious part of yourself, right? Like it's
Mhm.
conscious to you. You actively know it's there. But for
Mhm.
everyone else, they're like, oh yeah, like for me, he's a selfish asshole. He's like this and that, and he just sticks in his own world, and he
Right.
sometimes comes out to play. Whereas, like, for you, it may be the opposite. But you kind of
Right.
see yourself as that kind of way, and I would see myself as the way you generally act.
Right, exactly. So, I know we wanted to go in a couple different directions. Did you want to start with the questions that I had sent you, or
Absolutely,
yeah, okay. So,
that'd be cool.
why'd you agree to come on the show?
Um, I agreed to come on just because firstly, it's an opportunity to just talk like things out with someone, so that should be really nice. And also, it's just good to sort of. I wanted to hear the perspective of someone with dominant FE, as well as the OI as well.
Mm.
Someone who has OI over OE. Every person who I talk to consistently in OP, which is Adrian and Dante, they're all OEs. And I
Mm,
just wanted to hear the perspective of the more sort of organized kind of general, but here's the kind of timeline
mm.
approach to it, as opposed to what we typically do, which is, oh yeah, we'll jump into a VC and talk for 4.5 hours, and we'll maybe get to a conclusion about what we were going to talk about originally.
Right? Yeah, yeah. And so what are you hoping to get out of this?
Honestly, I think that all I'm hoping to get out of this is sort of us both being a sort of gateway, as a sense, to how we sort of get access to that's not the missing decider, but more of the how we sort of become more comfortable with the either FE or the TI for you, because those are going to be
Yeah.
massive. Those are going to be our biggest problems. Technically, they're going to essentially be our sort of insecurities. Of, for
Yeah.
you, it would be, if I say this, what if I say this truth that's inconvenient to the tribe, they're not going to like me, and da 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 da. And
Mhm.
for me, it would be, oh, if I go along with the tribe, I'm going to be like, I'll be compromising my own way of thinking, and I will lose my ability to have free thought. And
Oh.
just being able to sort of speak that out, and then us sort of coming together is sort of building. So because luckily you've had double deciders before; those are the last ones you've had, and you've sort of
Yeah.
had that more balanced access.
Mhm.
Whereas for like us, naturally, that's not us.
Mm-mm.
So sort of having the perspective of someone who has the missing sort of decider to you have that you have, it sort of does this sort of, I hate using this term, it sort of does this yin and yang effect of,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
you not only see the perspective of someone who
Mhm.
has that function stack, you also realize their ways of doing things as well. So you can
Yeah.
sort of put them into practice. It's basically what it's a way. It's essentially jumping over the consume, basically, of, I'm going to go and read every single book on, I don't know, hop onto Amazon and just say self improvement, uh, so how to socialize with
Oh,
human beings
it
books.
it's the cheat code.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's basically a cheat code.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. A cheat code to God mode.
Yeah,
That's what I should change this series to.
that's exactly what you should change it to. I think everyone would watch it.
Oh, really? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
probably. Oh, that's too scary. No, we'll slowly work into that. I mean, it was interesting too because even after I had done 2, and I don't know if this is the OI, I think it's both of them. I think it's the
Mhm.
FE and the OI. After I had done 2 of these, I was like, "Oh," I started thinking, What is there really anything new I'm gonna learn by doing more of these? People are gonna get bored. This is stupid. Like, this is silly. Why, you know, we've
Okay.
learned it. We've done it. It's there. The pattern's there. We recognize the patterns. But then I kept thinking, I was like, but there's different versions and they might come out differently. And I still
Mhm.
like having the conversations. And I think, yeah, go
You're
ahead.
absolutely right. I mean, well, I have a different sort of view on not just OP, but typology in general, which
I
is,
want to hear that.
you can talk to, let's just go with the most obvious one. You can talk to you could talk to, let's say, an INFJ, right?
Mm,
You can talk to an INFJ, but you've only talked to one INFJ, right? I think the problem with a lot of the sites, a lot of the tests, is that they'll assume that just because you have these cognitive functions,
yeah.
yeah, you will have these same personality traits, whereas
Mm,
they're not linked together. To me, I don't think personality type as a whole exists. I think that I don't think it's necessarily personality type. I think that
oh,
all your type really
yeah.
is basically, it's just, say that your personality is a house or a building that's
Uh-huh.
constantly being renovated. All your type really is the ground that that house is built on, right? You didn't necessarily control that. You didn't necessarily have any control of where your house is, but that's just what you have to use, and how you
Mm,
use it is up to you. So in my
mm.
opinion, when you go and talk to a million, is there even a million INFJs when it comes to the statistic? Anyway, when you go and talk to a bunch of INFJs,
Probably.
probably, yeah. when you go and talk to a bunch of INFJs, right, you're only going to get those INFJs. You're never going to be able to say, I know what an INFJ is completely. So
Oh,
I think the thing with typology and with this series specifically, and something that I think you should have a bit more like faith in yourself on, is that um
well.
you're I know the DI is telling you to have more faith in yourself, but I think that what would be really useful is that you know that you can get, you know, a million SETE play consume sleep blasts or NETI play consume blast sleeps on this sort of show, and I don't think it will get boring. Every human being has their own life experiences, um, has their own sort of struggles, and no matter what, regardless of type, they're always going to have a story that's worth telling. And I think that that goes for you, that goes for me, that goes for whoever's watching this, that goes for every single human being that's ever lived. I think that it doesn't necessarily matter what type. It doesn't matter if you run out of types to do. It matter the only time I think the show should end is when you run out of humans to talk to. That'll be my
Ah,
opinion.
I love that so much. I agree with the everybody has a story to tell so deeply. That is so, I believe that so much. And then two, actually what you're saying, that makes a lot of sense. It actually is part of my worldview, is that like I actually ultimately think everything is it's not possible to know everything.
Hmm.
Like as humans, like not just one human, but as humans,
Oh,
we can't know
absolutely.
everything. Um, but that doesn't it doesn't the journey or the effort, the exercise in trying to learn everything is sort of like the true north.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that if I think that if we were born with the knowledge of everything, there wouldn't be a reason to search for life's meaning because we already have it.
Yeah.
And I think that if you already here's the thing that I don't want to like turn this into a massive debate or whatever. I just got really into the what you were saying with the journey, with
Yeah.
everyone having to go on their own journey. I think that if there's because we're talking to like generally me you we're talking to people who are into typology, typically got
Hmm.
into typology by taking a test online and then
Right.
slowly getting out of that sort of circle and going into OP or whatever
Hmm.
they're into just now.
Yeah.
I think that one of the interesting things I always want to sort of I always want to give the piece of advice I'd always give to someone, especially who's into typology, is that when you've discovered your type, um, all you've really found is that you basically you think that I'm going to open this amazing treasure chest that has a bunch of like gold or coordinates to where I can find the treasure, and
Right.
all you find is basically a map that leads to another map.
Right.
Like you're basically what your type of basically is. It's basically just, in my opinion, a roadmap of here's what I can do to
Uh-huh.
fix these blind spots I've had for my entire life, and
Right.
after that, I can then go and really start sort of I can because after I fix my perspective on that, I can finally go out into the world with
Yeah.
not as much fear.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be honest, it wasn't I've been working on blind spots and things for a while. Um but there was something still within me that was still, not really.
Mhm,
It's a really difficult thing, when if we're gonna like, suspend belief for a second and, say that this is accurate, right?
mhm.
It's a really difficult thing to be demon feminine TI and actually believe the story, even when you have a glimpse of it,
Yeah.
that I need to take care of myself, especially
Yeah.
the demon consume, right? Like, I've circled around that lesson a few times, but I always then end up telling myself that no, I just need to get more done. Just need to get more done. Yeah. Yeah. As long
Oh.
as I get more done, then it'll all work itself out.
Yeah, that's what your head wants. That's what your brain will want. It's like give me the savior dopamine. Give me
Yeah.
that. Go out and do stuff. Like, go out
Yeah.
and get on the grind. You don't need to take care of yourself. You don't need to sleep. Who needs to sleep? No one needs
Mhm.
to sleep. No, and in reality, it's like, no, because I think the problem that I think a ton of people have,
Mhm.
you specifically because of your feminine TI right at the bottom, that's
Mm.
getting just completely destroyed by the FE.
Yeah.
Of I've
Mhm.
just got to go out and I've got to do stuff that's valuable to the tribe, and I've got to make sure that I know what's valuable right now, and da 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 da. Um, I
Yeah,
think
that.
just I think that just sort of when those people do eventually take a breather, um, they will sort of come they will eventually just come to realize when they're in their own thoughts. For me, it's usually when I'm in the shower every morning for some reason, which is usually why I shower for like half an hour, which is a nice fact. But yeah,
Mhm.
I think that when they eventually get a chance to be quiet and into themselves, get into their heads, yes, they're going to see that there is a lot of fear of I don't want to mess with other people's view of this or that, or whatever it may be. I don't want to take care of myself, because if I'm doing that, someone else isn't being taken care of. I'm
Mm.
Because you feel responsible to make sure everyone else is okay, to make sure that everyone else is calm, is safe, is this or that. I have no idea like what big issues are going on in your life, but even for me, I understand the struggle of I need to take care of myself, but
Mhm.
to me, what's the point of doing that if no one else gets something out of it?
Mm.
And I think that as soon as you start just getting into there, just writing down those fears, right?
Yeah.
You will feel guilt. I think that at some point you're always going to feel guilty for I should have used that time for someone else.
Mm.
But
Mhm.
really, if you did, you wouldn't have learned anything. And like you said, no one knows everything. And
Mhm.
honestly, um, I think one of the main parts of life is to continue learning, continue to become as wise as you possibly can through failure, through success, through whatever it may be, right? And for you, it would definitely be that trying to struggle with that imbalance of how do I take care of myself? Because that's really what I want to do. I really want to feel like I can express myself and be who I am, even though it is feminine and it is a bit more watery. And I don't want other people to kind of jump at me because of that. And I think it's eventually uh, just through trial and error of realizing that just because someone else doesn't like you doesn't necessarily make you a bad person, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's I think that there's a Winston Churchill quote. I don't know if it's a Winston Churchill quote. I'm pretty sure it is, but it's essentially if you live a life and have no enemies, you didn't stand for anything. If you live a life and have enemies, you did stand for something, right? And
Mhm.
that's one of
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
sad, unfortunate truths of the world, is
Mhm.
that we are going to be divided over things that are, in the grand scheme of things, kind of stupid, but
Right.
we are going to make enemies in life. However, it's how we go around that and how we stop ourselves from becoming sort of an enemy, right? We can easily I'm really really rambling on here, but we can we can easily we can easily turn ourselves into the enemy. And I honestly think when whoever said that, it might have been him, I have no idea. Whoever said if you live life with no enemies, in my opinion, if you live life with no enemies, you are your enemy, right? You're too
Mm.
scared to jump out of your shell. You're already so self-critical on yourself. You think that's how other people are going to react to you.
Mhm.
And I think that for demon feminine TI, it's going to be like that quite a lot. I think it's going to turn in on itself quite a bit, and it's really
Yeah.
going to kind of hit at you, saying that you don't actually think this is true, or you don't actually believe this, or
Right.
you're actually this. It's going to be like it's going to be some dark thoughts, right? It's going to be you're useless, you're not doing enough, you're not good enough. It's going to be that's where the really dark sort of insecurities are going to be located. I'm guessing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like the very thing that is used to
Yeah.
get yourself out of there is already sort of crippled in a way. But the interesting thing though about like I know that story already. I knew that story
Yeah.
before I OP, right?
Yeah.
and I, read different books about how to, you know, accept feedback and all sorts of things. So, um, in one way, again, it's like a cheat code, right? Like, it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
like, it's almost like a little bit of that, it is a cheat a little bit because it's like kind of the permission, right?
Mhm.
It's like, oh, okay, somebody else has recognized that this is a thing. So like I you know what it is? It's like a
Mhm.
drifting out in the ocean, and it's a little bit of a lifeline, right? Like it's
Yeah.
something that I can tether to, that I can trust that I'm swimming in the right direction,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And I think that that's a massive problem that, because I think that you would have been in that boat, right? You would have gone and bought a bunch of self-development books
Mhm.
of how do I go and expand my influence, or how do I accept feedback? How do I accept
Mhm.
this, and that? That a lot of the time, um, at least from what I've seen, because I've been into self development for a fairly long time. A lot of the times, those little rafts are promised to be lifeboats, as opposed to just
Mm.
rafts that you can use to get to the next one.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, if you go into it with a very sort of realist perspective of I'm I know I'm going to mess up at some point. I know that, you know, I'm going to feel insecure at some point, and that's okay.
Mm.
Life isn't necessarily about destroying every single insecurity you have and becoming the greatest character of all time, right? It's
Right.
about the interesting thing is that, like you said, um, whenever we don't make it to a raft boat or a raft, it's what makes us human,
Right.
right? It's what allows us to grow. And honestly, like, I get what you're saying, right? I do the same thing of I take in information and I think I know, I think I'm putting it into practice, and I put it into practice, and I feel, and I'm doing it for like a week, and then it dies, right?
Okay.
And the thing that I don't realize is that I just saw the name get up there. It's in my
Yeah.
sleep. It's in my sleep animal. I just don't know it's there.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I'm slowly. I think, okay, my progress is gone.
Right.
When in reality, it is in the moment. It's not there, but in the long term, what you've taken in, what you have actually learned, as long as you have the information in your head, in my opinion, um, and you have the will, which you clearly do, because for years you've been trying to fight the sort of issue.
Right.
Uh, it's You will eventually have a breakthrough, but
Mhm.
it does take an awful lot of I think, it does take an awful lot of pain and nights where you're sleeping there like, why is life like this? I'm useless. Like, trying to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes a lot of that
Yeah.
to become more stable.
So I'm curious about how like the lizardness, right? Like
Hmm.
you're missing the sleep. It's funny. When I am doing consume, I feel like it does definitely feed quickly into the sleep or the blast, right?
Yep.
It like sort of goes to the sleep and then to the blast, like it like toot
Hmm.
toot. And I'll like your friend that you were talking about, like I'll re it's probably why I thought I was such a deep thinker too. And in fact, even by an MTBTI practitioner, I was uh, y- you know,
You're
typed
were you typed as an
ISTP.
I? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Sorry.
Yeah, which actually kind of messed me up for a year because, you get typed that way and then you get coached that way, right?
Oh, I never knew they coached. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
well, the one that I had was a coach and she was also a MBTI practitioner. So
Okay.
imagine having demon feminine TI and getting coached as if you have it
Yeah.
as a lead.
Yeah, it's almost like that's going to be, I feel like that would create quite a lot of problems. The coach
Yeah,
is
yeah, like it
basically,
doubled down on my
yeah,
I suckness.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially because um, that coach is going to be focusing on, you have to focus more on the FE. You have to get more into the tribe. You have to think yourself as this bad person because that's going to help you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
That
quite,
wasn't
maybe
exactly
not
what
as
happened,
aggressive
but
as
there was
that,
an
but
undertone of that for sure.
oh, it's,
I
yeah,
mean, this is out there in public and whatever,
hmm?
whatever, but like yeah, it did not do good things for me.
Yeah, yeah, but luckily,
Oh,
that. Oh, is everything good?
Taylor, I can't hear you.
Oh, you can. Oh.
Oh, I think it was me.
Oh, okay. I heard the sort of, I kind of heard what sounded like that, like the inner
Hang on.
workings of your PC. Um, can you hear me?
No, I just did a test on my microphone. Can you try again?
Is this audible for you? Oh, great.
What
Let me fix
happened?
that. Let me fix that. Audio. Is this appears to be working? This is okay.
Oh,
Oh,
Adrian can hear you. It's my problem then. Hang on. Thank you, Adrian.
thank you. You have.
Hold on.
Just gonna pop up the stream chat, but
Ah, okay, that's better. All right.
okay.
All right, we're good.
Cool.
Double observant over here.
Nice.
All right. I'll find out what you said later. Unless you remember.
What from what I remembered, it was essentially just that, yeah, you were getting the wrong information. But what I was
Mhm.
essentially just going to say to you was that, all you really, luckily, that's another sort of learning experience of, if I didn't do the MBTI practitioner thing, I might not have got into OP, right?
Right. Well, gotten back to it. Yeah.
Or gotten back. Oh, you were into OP and you kind of left, or
Yeah. Yeah. I got into it and felt myself getting obsessed with it. And so I
and you kind of,
walked away.
yeah.
I stayed in the class though, because
Oh,
I
cool.
believed in what they were doing. Um, but yeah, no, I just wasn't paying attention to it until I got the MBTI lady, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
there's some
It's,
missing." I like my soul knew there was some missing information,
hmm.
and
Yep.
yeah, so I got back to it. Yeah,
Uh, okay. That's a really sort of good story though, right? Because
yeah.
it kind of gets on to a problem that the consume plays will have, where they
Oh,
can, where luckily you put something down and it was very easy for you to pick it back up, right?
oh,
After realizing that other stuff out there wasn't actually very useful, like the OE of the, well, you also
oh.
have the MBTI, and you also have something like, I don't know, like let's just say other systems such as like CS Joseph or Imperial Personality or like Eric Four or something, right? You
Right,
have
right, right.
those, and then you have
Yeah,
OP. Luckily for you, it was easier for you to jump back into the, like, your normal sort of box of, I think OP is on the right track, right?
yeah.
I think that was
Sometimes I
when. Hmm?
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's when your kind of saviors did kind of come in to kind of help you out there.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like that consumed last is more of a not a tester in the double feminine way, but like almost like a taste tester of like a little bit. It feels a little bit, the double activated blast feels a little bit like a superpower sometimes, in the way
Mhm.
that I feel like there are definitely times where I can skim something and well, it may be the lie I'm telling myself, but I do think it actually is effective sometimes, where I'm like skimming the top of something and I know then where to go.
Mhm.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
have to go 10 levels deep to know that this is the one,
Yeah. Exactly.
right?
And yeah, yeah, consume last can definitely come in as a really sort of big help for you for that because that's lucky. I am not good at that, believe me. So
Yeah.
sort of being able to sort of just say, okay, this isn't good for me. I can jump out. Right?
Mm,
Is a superpower of having consumed last as a demon, especially when you get that more developed. You're still going to have that. You're
right.
still going to be a little bit more sort of when it comes to the new information of just taking it in so you can
Ooh,
really understand
headache
it.
right here. Yeah.
Oh, you okay?
Yeah. 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 It's tough. So, what have you seen the sleep turn into a superpower for you?
Yeah. Um, I have had a few moments where it has. For me, usually it's when it happened at college a lot. So I do audio production. Like sound engineering, stuff like that. And I when the lockdowns happened,
Hmm.
um, I felt my passion slowly getting more kind of destroyed, not destroyed, but like t- like it going down, right? And I was like, I don't know why, right? It's just and it's because I wasn't actually looking into it. I wasn't really journaling stuff down of how
Mm,
I'm actually feeling that day. And I found that a lot of the time, um, that does help me, even though that did screw me over in the long run. Of I really, really became apathetic when it came to my course. It has helped me in the past where I've seen a lot of friends shut down when something happens.
mhm,
So say I don't know, they lost their job or something, and they just shut down for months. Um, Ideally, my sleep last would say, I don't like being like this, and I don't want to be in this situation. Um, and I'd instantly jump to I need to go and find out new ways of going forward. Um, so in a way, it does work like that, but I'm not as it's not as superpower as sort of the consume last of being able to
mhm,
dip into the different
mhm,
um, ideas. For me, it would take a lot more time for something like that to happen. And usually, if I don't get it under control, it will definitely like mess me up in the long run. But in the short run, it can help out.
mm. Yeah, yeah, I guess it does work a little differently, I guess, because the sleep, the opposite of that would be the play, right? So, and it's a
Yep,
little bit more difficult to sort of like flip that one around, right? Because they're both
absolutely.
right with the energy animals, they're completely going in completely opposite directions. Oh,
Hmm.
interesting. I know I had more questions, but I know you wanted to know about the FE at the top. Do you want to, excuse me,
It's
ask
okay.
any questions?
Um, I just wanted to ask, what has your sort of biggest you can probably ask me this afterwards for the TI and stuff, but like what do you think is the thing that you just hate most about having FE at the top?
Hate most about having FE at the top. Yeah, 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 yeah. Like, if I could change something, it would be the, it's funny how some of it just sounds like I'm just repeating potentially something, but um would be like it feels like an unconscious obligation to others, right? Like I don't even realize how much I am, you know, just how much it's for others.
Mhm.
And also because and I don't know, I keep attributing this to having sleep second as well because I'm so keenly aware of, and being maybe energy Tom, right, being
Yeah.
so keenly aware of my energy levels, and to do FE well, You really have to go in there with people. You have to track everybody, because it's not like I've heard it explained sometimes of like just getting everybody up to a level, right?
Mm.
And it's really interesting that you're a sound engineer, because I just recently was thinking it as this type of analogy where it is more like kind of like, okay, well, Johnny is here, but he wants to be here. So, and Sally is here, but she wants to be here, and getting everybody sort of calibrated so that it still works as a whole and each of the individuals are in their desired state,
Mhm.
because right,
Mhm.
if in that perfect unattainable state that everybody is exactly in their desired state. I say it like that because I don't think it's happy. I don't think everybody always wants to be happy,
No.
but it's right, but it's their desired state. And then it's like a machine that is completely clicked into place, and now we can go do a thing together.
Yep.
So
Wow.
that's so that just even subconsciously always feeling like I'm like, okay, so it's a little loud for you, like even like in like if I'm in a conversation and there's three people there and I know the one person's struggling and I know that particular person has a strong relationship with God, and
Mhm.
I know another person there is an atheist, right? That is like, I know that that person there kind of needs, like, it's sort of like this quick thing in my head where I'm like, da, 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 that person's going to be slightly offended that I'm talking about God right now or bringing God up. But I have
Yeah.
to be okay with that because this person needs me more right now. And I need to tell them something that they need to hear. And I need to use the word God while I'm telling them.
Yeah.
So it's like this whole, but then even after that, like, then that person, like, I still feel bad that I wasn't able to meet their needs. But in that moment, I had to do that. So it's just that constant. I don't remember exactly what the question was, but it's just exhausting.
No, that's a great answer actually. The No, I actually do relate to that to an extent, but
Oh yeah.
obviously it's more because of I'm technically missing DI to an extent, but
Okay.
it's more of I completely get your idea of you have to get every single person in the conversation just right. It's
Yeah.
like you can't have them a little bit off or a little bit too low or too high. They have to be at that right equilibrium, or else you think one, they'll hate you, and two, they're just going to be offended the entire time. And you're right.
Right.
Not everyone. I don't think everyone wants to be happy. I think that that's a problem that a lot of people can attribute to FE. Right?
Mm-hmm.
FE apparently always wants to bring up someone's emotion, which I don't think
Right.
is true. I think all FE really
Yes.
wants to do is Effie wants to get the general idea. What's the emotion of the room? Who's lower than the average? Who's higher than the average? How do I make it so? How do I make it so that other people who are sort of out of range, like out of that sort of like equal part,
Mhm.
how do I make it so they're aware, right, of
Right.
this is actually how things are going right now? And
Right.
I actually do completely agree with I completely like relate to your explanation there because it
So,
is so hmm?
no, go ahead. It's so.
Okay, because um it is so sort of it's such an accurate kind of way of seeing it, because a lot of people think that it's really only just going to a few people and um trying to sort of adapt to their way of doing something. When in reality, it's knowing what is acceptable for every single individual person and
Right.
getting it just right, so they're not all. One of them will get slightly offended, but then you have to go back to them. And
Right.
it feels like you're just playing a game of running back and forth to every single person, making sure they're not offended, or
Right.
they're not out of that
They're not
middle ground.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a range, right? Each person has a range of uncomfortableness, and it's like, okay,
Exactly.
this person's like slightly close to being uncomfy, but but I have to have them be there so that this person, because if they weren't there, this person, it would be too loud for this person, right?
Yep.
But I'm curious about then for you in that setup, right? I have found that for me, that takes a lot of energy. And so then I'm not even thinking about where I fit in that scenario. So I'm curious if you, if maybe not so much because you have the sleep last, but like I'm curious, like do you, when you're doing that calibrating, are you in that scenario too?
Yep.
Oh, you are.
I am in that scenario. So back in around 2 years ago, I used to me and like a couple friends. I have one friend that I've known for about 15 years, and he's sort of like he's been like my guy. Like, he's
Hmm.
been like the most loyal person I've ever met. And so I'm basically part of his friend group by proxy, right? I don't really know any of those people per se. But at the time, he was having like a bunch of little like, oh, let's just go back to my house and just like get together for a little while.
Hmm.
Uh, and it, I'm not like a big fan of like a bunch of I'm not a big fan of like drinking in general. And I really don't like when people are basically just like out of their head, like drunk completely. Because I'm not even talking to the original person that I came to
Mm.
talk to at that point. But at the same time, I was just sort of I had to sit there and basically take it. Um, and I was so into my own world in that scenario because I didn't want to deal with um like five people. One who was extremely depressed and down because he felt like he was basically getting used at that point for his house and his like the fact that he just like his like idea of he made just something as simple as this, right?
Okay.
Um he made a music playlist for the entire group. He put in the effort to look at what everyone liked when it came to like the music, down to artists, down to specific songs, put all of it into a playlist that was at least 5 something hours long, right? And someone came in and said, I'm going to take the like music privileges or whatever just because I feel like I know better than you do, even though he put in the effort of everyone else gets their little part in the playlist. And I was just sat there like, I kind of got a number. It's like, just don't do that. Just leave him alone. Oh my goodness, I cannot take that. Because it was getting to the point where little petty things like that were causing such insane levels of conflict. And I just got to the point where it was like, no, like we can't do this anymore. Right. I don't think I outwardly did much, honestly. I think I was quite passive in that scenario. I'm typically quite passive in real life. I'm not the first one to jump up and say something is wrong until I'm provoked a bunch of times. But in that scenario, I try to basically just say, can we just let him do his thing? Like
Yeah.
you've came to his house to do whatever. He have his thing.
Yeah.
So for me, I have my own comfort zone. The problem is in those scenarios, I can get so focused on my comfort zone, I can't actually see what's going on outside of me until I feel like it's too late. And because it's too late, I can't say anything. Um, so yeah, I do know that I fit into the picture almost too much, but it's taken quite a lot of effort to get out of that. I'm still trying to do that to this day. I'm still trying to stop being as sort of passive and generally quite quiet. It seems like because my animal stuff, I'm going to be quite talkative.
Mm.
I'm usually not when it's a big group of people, especially if I don't know them very well. Usually I'll stay to my own sort of world, maybe make like a few jokes to a friend, and that's it. Right, that would be me. But
Um,
when it comes to just a one-on-one conversation,
mhm.
that's typically where I'm going to go and show you I do actually care about you. And here's
Right.
the issue. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
Go
I was going to
ahead.
say yeah. Just to conclude that, I do have my like DI or whatever. I know that I have a place on that sort of like mix board or whatever of
Right.
where everyone's
Right.
comfort zones are.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe that is the like one of the key differences, right? Of
Hmm.
like a glass lizard IP versus an EJ.
Yep.
Potentially. I mean, we both still our masculines are, maybe playing some role there. But yeah, I am so busy handling the board that I forget. It doesn't even register that I am on that mixed board.
Yep.
Um, and in fact, too, for me, that's where I find that the double deciding will come into play. Because when I feel like I keep getting this glimpse of like, oh, if I just put myself on the mix board and I consider myself equal amongst everybody else, then
Hmm.
everything will be, smooth. Because what ends up happening in reality, a lot of times, all of a sudden, I'll remember that, hey, my opinion counts too. And then it's like a fight. And then I'm like overly getting too concerned about like what their needs are, you know,
Hmm.
like in a weird
Yeah.
way. Right. And that's, I think, the single deciding. And if I could just solidly feel like I am allowed to be on that board too, that's when I'll start consistently double deciding. No.
Yep. I I think that I think the problem is that I think Dave and Sean talk about this all the time of when we want to tackle our demons, we want to fix the problem now. Whereas we don't want to ironically, we don't want to do like the SI of doing it like bit by bit by bit by bit by bit.
Right.
Of like, I'll put myself on the board with one person, then with two
Mm,
people, then with three, then with four, then with five. Typically, I want to do it when we're around the massive group or the biggest group that we know of, where we're really taking charge of the FE.
yeah.
That we're not going to sort of um we're not going to sort of do that. We're going to be like, I want to be here now, when in reality it takes a lot of build up. I think that double deciders aren't going to realize how powerful that actually is, because that's something they're naturally going to do. Where single
Right.
deciders are going to become very like I actually care about this now, because I've managed to,
Right.
assert like who I am on
Right.
the board, or I've managed to actually get out of my own perspective and care about what other people feel and think. Yeah, yeah.
Right. Right. Exactly. Um, do you have a few more minutes? I would like to go into the OI versus the OE.
I do have a few more minutes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. So what I know you were talking about like how like, that we've both have the masculine S at the top, right? Like
Hmm.
in our second spot.
Yep.
Um and I do definitely think I'm double observing. I do see that. Um yeah, I want to hear about like what would you have any like questions about the OY versus the OE?
Um, when you sort of go into a new situation, um, this is such a random question, but
Mm.
when you sort of enter sort of a room or something like that, do you walk in and you instantly notice that this is the sort of the vibe it will give to someone else, or do you go into it, or this could be an example or whatever, but like when you go into a new situation generally, right, are you seeing the whole sort of, this is what this thing actually is, or are you trying to sort of piece it together piece by piece of this, let's just say, for example, for me, I'd be like, okay, the walls are white, or there's a curtain behind you, or this or that, right? Whereas maybe you would be more sort of, I don't know, like you're wearing a like navy blue hoodie, that's a pop shield, that's a chair there, you're sort of building it up more like a tower, whereas I'm just sort of like scattering out all the Lego pieces, trying to sort of say, I generally now get it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm
It
just
does,
generally
it
asking.
does. In fact,
Mm.
I as you were talking, I was trying to think of it, and yeah, and it's interesting because I think it's interesting that it is more of a process. So for me, I am not necessarily saying the wall is white and the chairs are over there. It's more, first of all, even just thinking about it, like I'm thinking about like going to a birthday party at Dave and Buster's, which is like a casino, but not a casino, like a, I
Oh,
don't know,
okay.
but it's like a place that has like games, like driving games and like things like that, like arcade. It's like an
Oh,
arcade.
okay.
It's like a bar
Yeah.
slash arcade. And and maybe it's one that I've not been to before, but like all Dave and Buster's kind of have the same setup. So like I'll be referencing something that I had, that I know of. Like this is how generally Dave and Buster's are set up. And then I'll be like, but I have this anxiety of like, oh my God, there's so much going on. There's so much going on. I mean, like, okay, what do I have to do? We got to get the cards for the machines, right? And I'll be like, okay, so where's the card machine? Okay, there's the card machine. Okay, and so like, and then I'm seeing like all the people, and I'm kind of seeing how quickly the people are walking, right?
Oh.
And I'll be like, okay, so I can make it over to that card machine. This is how fast I have to walk. I'll go over there, and then when I do that, then there's an empty table right there. I'm gonna go sit down at that empty table. Like I'm finding the pathway to the quiet spot.
Oh, nice. Okay. So
Yeah.
you're sort of like almost visualizing, here's the route I will take because of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I get it. I get it completely.
Yeah. 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 I never thought about that before, but that is definitely what's happening. It's weird. It is
Yeah.
very SI, isn't it?
It is. It's very sort of, I'm gonna get all of the sort of individual details correct of, I'm going to this table, this is the card machine, or this is the card machine here that I'm going to use.
Hmm.
Uh, then there's the exact path that I'm going to take to get there.
Right.
Uh, it is a very SI way of doing it, and that really does fascinate me, to be honest, because I
Yeah. Because
really. Mhm.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, because that is something that I really do try to do as well as I can. I really try and sort of map things out. But obviously, there's going to be times where I just like, oh, just walk whatever way you'll get me there or whatever. But
Right.
yeah, whereas sort of with you, it has to be very sort of structured. Of I have to
Yeah.
get, what you say, I have to get like this specific like I have to like go this specific way to get to the arcade area, and then I
Yeah.
have to walk in this door. I've walked in the door. I've like paid my entrance fee or whatever. Then
Right.
I've found the table. Right. It's making sure everything is structured and has a very clear and very sort of easy to sort of notice pattern of, this is how we do it.
Well, yeah, and it's constantly recognizing, okay, I can handle this because I know this because this is like this.
Hmm.
Like I can like to completely like improv is very nerve-wracking to me.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I am sort of the opposite.
Yeah.
Where right now the only reason that I was kind of nervous coming on here is that
Hmm.
I'd planned roughly how I would try and answer something, or I looked over something so much to where I'd
Mm,
overthought it and think it could be this or that or that or that, and I could give them this example or that example or that example or this one here, and it's all over the place, nowhere, because even though I've done the organizational work, my actual pool of information
yeah.
isn't organized in itself. It's like downloading a zip file on the internet, opening up, and it has all the folders organized. My desk
Oh.
is like, yeah, that's cool, but my desktop still has like 50 different folders in it, and I don't know which one it should go into. And I don't,
Oh.
so yeah, it's really cool that I've got access to this organized amount of information. Uh, oh, I've opened up the program and it's still very organized and I can do that. Oh, drag in your own file to do this. Where is that file again? And then spend
Oh.
5 minutes looking for the exact one I want to use, and then find about four different versions of it and think, oh no, I'm gonna have to choose again and narrow down more and narrow down more. So yeah, I'm the opposite. I prefer to sort of do things improv, even though I hate, at the same time, I really don't like being, I don't like it being completely improv or completely structured. I like a general balance. But
Uh-huh.
when it
Same.
but when it comes to, if I have the option, I'd rather have it lean more to the improvisation, uh, rather than sort of the, let's completely structure it and, in my opinion, make it seem more kind of robotic, which is actually quite useful quite a lot of the time, because at least you get it out in like a timely kind of manner as well.
Well, that's the double observing, isn't it? That's so
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, because I feel the same way. You saw the questions that I sent to you, right? Like I had like general questions and we got to like maybe 3 of them, right? But I'm okay with that. Like I feel
Yeah.
bad cuz like if you've already come up with questions or answers to some of the things, but I just
I
figure
Luckily, those were the 3 you asked were the ones that I had done the most thought into. I hadn't, like, I don't think you should feel bad for that. It was me that did drag the conversation along and
oh
sort
good.
of have to bounce off of a bunch of different things. I don't think that was a you problem. I think that was sort of me.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like that, I don't think you should feel bad about it. I just think that, like in general, it was a really good interview though. Like the way you managed to sort of stop me from becoming this ridiculous, chaotic bound of like someone in the live stream chat saying, I think this guy's talked for 20 minutes and I think I've got 2 points from him is quite good. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it's actually been quite good on your end.
Yeah, yeah, you were awesome. I mean, you were going on for a minute before where I was like, wow, this is really interesting. Look at him blasting. I loved it. I really loved this.
I
Um,
I loved hearing your blast on particularly the FE stuff as well
yeah.
as like what you said with the SI there. I loved hearing your own experience and perspective. It was really good to do. Thank you for having me on,
Oh, of
honestly.
course. Definitely. I guess we're wrapping up. It's always
Yeah.
awkward to say goodbye. You have any final thoughts or
um
questions or thoughts or whatever?
just thoughts on sort of how just thoughts on I think that you definitely should keep doing this. I think that other people are going to have a lot of some really really good stories, some really good examples and some really good advice for those with thanks Adrian. I just saw that. Thank you. You have an amazing profile picture by the way. And for yeah, I think that the only thing I would give is that I think you should keep doing this because it's been such an amazing experience to watch someone who has a very good way of just structuring out how an interview should be done. And even when you have someone like me on who will typically take that off the rails and the train is on its roof somewhere, like at least with that, you always bring back the to the main point. And I think that honestly, I'd love to see more of just you getting information out of someone else, hearing about their problems, their issues in life, and sort of getting that sort of cross reference of being able to sort of realize I see this in my life, I see this in
Yeah.
whatever's happening here and here and here, right? And
Yeah.
it allows you to sort of take that into your own journey. I think that it's really good because I think that what you're building, in my opinion, is something that a bunch of people can go back to and sort of see. I want to see someone who has my type and who had my struggles,
Right.
or even someone who has your type, right? Even someone who has
Right.
FESI, blast, sleep, play,
Yeah.
consume, double masculine, can go back and sort of see you as sort of their role model. I think the lucky thing with OP is until there's 512 different versions of your type, I think that your sort of way of doing it, you represent a good chunk of the community that isn't going to be as represented. So
Right. Right.
honestly, I think
Yeah.
you should keep doing this. It was such a good experience to be on here, and it was awesome to just sort of talk things out of you. It was just a really good interview. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for the validation, and I'm really enjoying it. So that was really helpful. That was a really great way of ending it. So, all right. Talk to you later, Taylor. Thanks,
See ya.
guys.
See you guys.
Bye.